It wasn't that he was trying to put some more restrictions on him, but the truth was that he was actually giving them freedom from the law that had them in bondage. Anybody keeping up with me? He was setting them free. He wanted them to understand that the law really was not to put you in bondage, but it was going to lead up to you getting out of bondage when he showed up. So by the time we get to chapter 7, he says, listen, I want to make sure that you understand exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want you to get this confused, because all I've been teaching you, I don't want you to get it and take it the wrong way. So by the time he gets to chapter 7, verse 1, he says, judge ye not. Judge ye not, unless ye be judged by the same judge, and with what measure of meat it shall be measured unto you. In other words, he said, listen, I didn't teach you all this so that you could go out and judge your brothers and sisters. Matter of fact, I gave it to you so that if you're going to decide to judge somebody, you better judge yourself first. You better judge yourself first, because watch this. Jesus said, now watch this. I think we jump over this a lot of time, but the truth is that Jesus says, if you judge somebody else, you force me to judge you like you judge them. When you judge somebody else, when you sit down and say all of them are crazy, when you sit down and say all of them are no good, when you sit down and you say all of them are messed up, now you cause God to have to look at you messed up, crazy. You force him to judge you on the same level that you judge somebody else. Which actually makes me think that if I judge you lightly, then that means that God will have to judge me. That if I judge you mercifully, then God will have to judge me. He says, I'm closing this thing out. I need you to understand, though, that before you start pointing the finger at somebody else, don't make me have to look at you. That's what he says. He says, listen, because whatever you use to measure them is what I got to use to measure you. Now, some of us can't stand no measuring. I just thought I'd say us so you'd say amen. But some of us can't stand to be measured, especially not the way we measure other folk. Especially since I've been looking across the room, rolling my eyes and talking about how trifling they are. And now God is looking at me talking about how trifling I am. He says, listen, I don't want you to take what I just taught you and use it to judge other folks. He said, for why beholdest thou the mote in your brother's eye, but consider not the beam that is in your... Help me teach this thing. You know what I got out of that? If the text is true, then I wouldn't be able to see your mote no way, because I got a beam blocking it. So what he's really saying is that you're actually making up something that you think somebody else got when you really blind. Y'all ain't walking with me. If you got a beam in your eye, you really can't see what somebody else is doing. You just acting on what you think. So he says, listen, I don't want you to get this confused. I don't want you to get it twisted. I don't want you to start judging folks. I don't want you to take what I'm teaching you to use it to measure other people, because when you measure them, you force me to measure you. Then he jumps down to verse number 7 and says, ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh, receiveth. He that seeketh, findeth. And him that knocketh, it shall be open. He says, listen, quit trying to figure out everybody else's stuff and find out what you need from me.